Hey, friendo, Steve here. Welcome back to Wrestle. I got to keep my voice down because today we're going to talk about conspiracy theories. I asked you guys to drop your favorite wrestling conspiracy theories. Let's be honest, the wrestling industry is a weird one, and so conspiracy theories from time to time will crop up, and you guys have got a bunch that you've heard of or that you have concocted on your own, and we're going to take a look at them today. I've got my wrestling conspiracy theory board all made up, ready to go, so let's go ahead and dive into them. All right, this is one of my personal favorite ones. Zoe Canrana says the reasons Hulk Hogan started looking like a completely different person in the 90s isn't because of steroids. No, he was replaced. The original Hogan now lives in Guatemala. So I'm not sure exactly what evidence Zoe has that the original Hulk Hogan lives in Guatemala. However, I actually thought this for the longest time. Not necessarily seriously, but there's only so much that steroids can do to a person's face. Look at these two images of Hulk Hogan. This is him in 1985, I think, if Google got its search right, which it probably doesn't these days. And this is him when he came back in 1993. Now, Bret Hart has said in his autobiography that ostensibly Hulk Hogan started doing a different or lesser round of steroids or whatever you call them, cycles or whatever. The cycles were different. These two individuals look like completely different people, though. And then this is the thing, though. Here's the thing. When I went back and I looked at more images of Hulk Hogan, I got kind of a conspiracy theory buster here. Look at this picture of him from 1979 with Antonio Inoki. He kind of looks like the same guy from 1993. So evidently, whatever he was on back in 1979 is similar to what he was on in 1993, because these two images do actually kind of look kind of similar with the way his face is sunken in this manner. It's just whatever he was on in 1985. Oh my gosh, he was so puffy back then. So I kind of feel like conspiracy theory debunked on this particular one, but man, oh man, his face went through a lot of changes over the years. All right, this next one involves the Heartbreak Kid, Shawn Michaels, and his first retirement from wrestling back in 1998. This is from Alexander Ball, says Shawn Michaels never had a back injury. He just didn't want to wrestle anymore, and Vince paid him to stay home or not go to WCW. Once WCW was gone, Vince told him he ain't going to pay him anymore to stay home. And like magic, HBK's career-ending back injury was healed. And Diehard Homer says HBK didn't come back until 2002 because he didn't want to eventually put over The Rock. Rock was basically part-time when HBK came back in 2002. So basically, these are kind of the same conspiracy theory, albeit with different reasons as to why HBK left. Of course, he was on the precipice of seeding the new generation era over to the Attitude Era with Stone Cold Steve Austin. HBK, as part of DX, was a huge part of the genesis of the Attitude Era, though. So it would be kind of surprising to me if he just sort of was like, I don't want any part of this anymore. I don't really want to be involved in the boom era of WWF. Here's the thing. I know he was making a bunch of money. I remember this figure a long time ago, hearing that he was making like $15,000 a week sitting at home for WWF. Now, I have no idea if that figure was true or not. I don't know what 15,000 times 52 is. I can look it up right here. Times 52. That's $780,000 a year that he's making just to sit at home. I kind of feel he could have made like at least double or triple that had he continued on screen in a major way in WWF as part of DX, because I kind of feel like they were just selling a ton of merch. And I feel like him and Triple H probably understood that if Vince gave them kind of like their own little island, their own little DX island, to have a feud between the two of them, it would simply elevate them. And I imagine HBK could have politicked his way back into getting that title if that's what he really wanted. So I don't know. I remember hearing one time as well that he blamed his back issues on not just the bump in that one match of his, but He blamed his back issues also on like not stretching before matches. Like, I don't know if that's true or not. In any event, like, I'm not an athlete like he is, so what do I know? In any event, I kind of feel like the one thing that would bust this conspiracy theory is the money factor. I kind of feel he knew he could have made a shit ton more money had he stayed around and been an active wrestler as opposed to what Vince was paying him. So, I don't know. I kind of feel like this one's bunk, but I totally understand why a lot of people think that he was just sort of faking it when he sat out for those 4 years. All right, this next one is a more recent AEW conspiracy theory, and it has to do with one Adam Edge Copeland, the rated R superstar, aka Cope. AJ Otani says, I truly believe Cope is working with mostly ex-WWE talent to show WWE that he still had gas in the tank when they gave up on him. It's hard to know kind of what like a dude's motivation is. Obviously, the guy probably has a lot of leeway and say so in terms of like who he gets to work with now that he's in AEW. And he's obviously working Mox with the world title right now. And before that, before he was injured, he was working with Christian. There obviously is the infamous promo between him and Ricky Starks that kind of went off the rails, and a lot of people point at that as like the moment when Ricky Starks started to fall out of favor with AEW. So I don't know. I mean, some of it might simply be he's more comfortable. Look, I have no doubt whatsoever that this dude's got a lot to prove. WWE essentially said, and he has said this, we got nothing for you. We don't know what to do with you. Therefore, we're not going to offer you what you probably think you're worth. And then he goes to AEW and they got all sorts of stuff for him. It wouldn't shock me if one of his internal motivations was simply, I'm going to show them what they're missing out on. I'm going to show them that, hey, there was still stuff left for me to do, even in WWF, but at the very least in the world of wrestling. That's natural. I understand that. Everybody wants to prove that they're valuable. That's not really a big deal. That being said, once he gets out of this Mox feud, what next? If he leaps into a thing, it could be this. It could simply be that he's more comfortable working with the older ex-WWE guys because he has pre-existing relationships with some of them, obviously with Christian, perhaps with Jericho if he gets into a feud with Jericho. Obviously, him and Mox didn't really cross paths because his return came right after Mox had already left the company, so there really wasn't a lot of crossover, any crossover there. But given that they both worked in WWE for an extensive period of time, they both have that WWE style down or whatever. I don't know, and they're both older. I could see that as just being a comfort thing as opposed to like, I'm doing this specifically to prove to them that I still had something left to offer. If he gets into a feud with Bobby Lashley and then Jericho, I don't know. I kind of feel like that's just him keeping comfortable as opposed to like working with the other talent. Plus, on top of that, you work with a bunch of young talent. Then you run into the issue of like, who's going to win matches and stuff. And at what point does Edge's career sort of turn into got to start putting the younger dudes over? All right, this next one is a bit more of a dicey AEW conspiracy theory. And it comes to you from Hello Empty Bus Seat. It says this one's really recent, but I'm convinced Thunder Rosa was purposefully screwed by the office at AEW because she's been quote unquote difficult to work with, although it seems like she just knows her worth and her character and what she should be doing. It's apparent that the heels were supposed to be out of the ring before she even got there with the chair. Her body language as she approached the ring was like, uh-oh, they're not leaving. I guess I'm going to slide in anyway. And then the rest played out obviously pretty awkwardly. I don't think the heels would have gone into the business for themselves in a world where nobody knows who they are. They haven't proven themselves and Tony could fire or suspend them for doing what they wanted. I think they must have had support from someone in leadership at the company. So the thought here is that there's some grand conspiracy against Thunder Rosa trying to make her look bad and using Megan Bayne and Penelope Ford to do that. The segment was terrifically awkward. It was like, what are you guys doing right now? You need to get on the same page. And I feel like that's more likely the situation. Look, if they didn't want to feature Thunder Rosa, or if they wanted to, I feel like it's more likely that they would simply not put her on television than make her look bad on television. I don't think that they would sacrifice like the integrity. I don't think that Tony Khan's the kind of guy that would sacrifice the integrity of his product just to embarrass somebody. Unless that person is CM Punk. I mean, he literally did try to do that, but that's obviously a way different situation. Thunder Rosa is still with the company at the time CM Punk was not when they aired that Jack Perry footage. So I don't know. I get the feeling that this is just like people not necessarily being on the same page. Like maybe they were going to do the thing. It was like, hey, you're scheduled to do like a little save situation. And then like the complete details of it might not have been communicated. And Thunder Rosa thought, oh, I'm going to run them off with this chair. And then Megan Bayne and Penelope Ford were like, okay, well, we're going to stand our ground. Maybe they just thought that's how it was supposed to be. And nobody really got those details across. So I don't know. I don't think this is intentional. I've seen this conspiracy theory out there, though. People have done videos on it and shit. I just don't buy it. I think that it was just a miscommunication. That happens in wrestling. Chased Crown 427 says Bryan Danielson being so popular in 2016 that WWE did not clear him on purpose as to not have him outshine Roman Reigns. Wow. I don't know, man. Again, look, I will say this. Just like I said, Tony Khan, I don't think is the kind of guy who would intentionally create bad television to bury one of his talent. Vince used to do that shit all the time. And Bryan Danielson recently gave an interview or at some point, gave an interview where he said after he won the title at WrestleMania 30, Vince McMahon was really excited about making Roman Reigns a huge star. And Danielson was like, dude, I want to be that. I want to be the next John Cena. And so, you know, the dude is always popular. And then they ended up, he was shelved because of some pretty gnarly and I feel very real health issues. And then through the miracle of modern technology and medicine, he was able to come back a couple years later. So, man, I've seen this one before. I don't think that would be the case. I think that they would require Bryan Danielson to be lying about that shit. And I think that's the main thing here is I just think that it would require Bryan Danielson lying about that stuff. And I don't think he would. I don't think it would make any sense. It'd be a pretty big bombshell if he said that. And people would believe him if he did. So I don't know what the upside to him lying about that would be. Angel Zero says Triple H told Cody to point at Roman so he could keep his guy in the main event while The Rock was trying to insert himself. That was the Cerebral Assassin's play, and it played out perfectly. Oh, that shit happened. Triple H politicked the shit out of He politicked the shit out of that. To add on to that, Shotgun Sean says Triple H and The Rock, despite appearances, secretly hate each other. This one I don't believe. I don't think they hate each other, man. I just think that they have probably different philosophies. I think that their politicking is just part of their relationship. They understand the business, and I think they could probably separate the two. I don't think. I mean, look, I don't know them, but you see their relationship. You see them backstage in the little behind the scenes stuff, and I don't know. You never know how somebody really feels deep down, but I feel like it's entirely possible for two people to like each other and have a difference of opinion when it comes to, creatively speaking, what the best route to go would be, for example, in last year's WrestleMania situation. I don't think Triple H could politic The Rock out of the company completely. But I do think, for example, the Cody Rhodes selling his soul to the corporate rock stuff, I think Triple H, I think he understands that there's probably some intrigue there. This is going to get people talking because there doesn't seem to be some story so precious. It's not like last year where that Cody Rhodes story was kind of precious. Like they had built it for like years and it just was natural to pay off and you were going to lose a lot of equity with the fans if they just didn't do the damn match and have Cody win the thing. Now it's a little bit different. That pressure isn't on anymore. If Cody loses the title, kind of doesn't matter. The important thing is done already. So I don't know. I feel like that was one prominent situation where Triple H totally got his way by absolutely manipulating the situation to get what he felt was that he probably spent a lot of political equity with Nick Khan, with the heads of TKO, to get his way because he knew, and I think he was probably able to convince people this is the right way to go for the story. I don't think that would preclude him from liking The Rock, though. They've got too much history together. And so I don't know. Maybe that's just me being like, oh, I want everybody to be on the same page. I want everybody to like each other. I'm sure there is totally, absolutely that competitive streak in the two of them. And I think that's something they probably both appreciate about each other. Kevin Orland says WWE's already purchased TNA. That's a possibility. That could be. I feel like that is the kind of thing that wouldn't be able to be kept secret, though. So I'd be kind of surprised if that was the case. Because I feel like somebody along the line, some lawyer, some accountant, some business person would have like spilled the beans on that one. We'll end on this one from Damon Harden. Says, I believe Ronda was correct that Logan Paul is only good because he gets special treatment. He's given months to practice his matches. I fully believe if any main roster wrestler had time to practice their whole match, they'll be 5-star matches. Yes, Logan's athletic, but clearly has more time to prepare. Same with Bad Bunny. Bad Bunny is the exact perfect example to use because he had tons of time to prepare his match with Damian Priest. And I've seen it online, other people saying, well, everybody gets to prepare their matches. No, not in the same way. And we saw what happened when Logan had that match with Rey Mysterio, and it seemed like he didn't have quite as long to prepare. It was a fucking stinker. Now, the one thing that Logan Paul, as much as I really can't stand the guy, does have for him, he does have athleticism. He does have some really, really good coordination so that he can make those prepared matches really, really good. However, the actual good wrestlers can go into a match cold, call it on the spot, and deliver a phenomenal match. That's what the really good wrestlers can do. This guy can do moves pretty well. He has a hell of a, the buckshot lariat. He does land that really, really well. That new finisher of his looks pretty good. The bottom line is, though, not a lot of people really want to see him on their televisions. I mean, I personally don't think, and maybe this is me projecting, I personally think that the crowd reaction, the boos that he gets are more like, just go, we don't want you as part of our Fantasyland stories that's going on here. And I think that if he gets exposed more and more as just a mid wrestler who really can't do much without tons of preparation, I think that that's going to start that shine for people being like, well, his matches are good. I think that's going to really start being exposed sooner than later if he plans on being a full-time guy, which like he kind of isn't. But that being said, he just seems like a turd of a human being. And I think that only goes so far. I don't think he'll be able to really turn that around, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe WWE's going to just keep on pushing him down our throats. I don't know. I'm hoping against hope that they haven't pivoted into a CM Punk Logan Paul match for WrestleMania. If any time CM Punk is like, dude, no, as much as I didn't want to face Triple H back in 2014, I'm like triple as much now, not wanting to face Logan Paul WrestleMania. Yeah, we do not need that match. I do not want that match. I don't want to see that match. They shouldn't have any type of match at WrestleMania. They want to put that on Raw. They want to put that on some Saudi show. CM Punk's not doing a Saudi show. They want to put that on some other premium live event. Really don't want to see Logan Paul, but if they have to do it, don't do it at WrestleMania. Anyways, that's going to do it for this edition of Conspiracy Theories. I'll put up a new thread, I don't know, some other time, and we'll do another one of these because this is actually kind of a lot of fun. And I spent a lot of time on my little conspiracy theory board right here. Look at that. Spent like a good solid hour or two on that thing.